Hello, this is Nima Golbabai on KUCI 88.9 Irvine. We're back again for the next episode of Rollercoaster in the Clouds. I confess I don't know exactly what we're going to do today. We could we could continue our Clone Wars review, which is what we're probably going to do, but I've also watched a few movies, nothing new, but stuff I've watched in the past. I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. Um, I watched another movie that's kind of escaping me, but I watched a few things. Oh yeah, and I watched a few Star Wars films. I or just one. I watched Return of the Jedi, but I've reviewed Star Wars many times, the movies, and I'm probably reviewed an Indiana Jones film before, so I think we're gonna just continue going on with the Clone Wars, and I think we're gonna finish today. I'm gonna do my best because I don't want to bore you with the same thing over and over again. But I remember where we left off. We left off at the four episodes of season 5, which is my favorite storyline slash arc, and it's the Ahsoka arc. And essentially, this sort of starts out kind of unassumingly. It's Anakin and Ahsoka on Kata Nemoidia, which is a very cool planet. It's kind of a mix of modern and traditional. It's like they have like modern cities between the trees made out of gold and stuff. So it starts unassumingly. Ahsoka saves Anakin's life in a crash of his fighter, and essentially they're called back to Coruscant urgently, and they find out the Jedi Temple has been bombed. And it's a really good mystery that sort of happens over this episode and the next episode. They don't know how the bombing happened, and like one of the guys that was working at on one of the ships, not a Jedi, has like disappeared. But then they find him, and he was basically blown up, but he had nanodroids in his blood, so he was the bomb. And going into the second episode, it's turned out his wife was like feeding him these nanodroids that turned him into a bomb. And as it turns out, she asks for Ahsoka randomly to go into her, to like see her in her cell, and this confuses Ahsoka, and it kind of makes her look guilty. And the woman says like she's been forced to do this, and it's not her own idea, basically. And all of a sudden, she starts getting force choked in her cell, and it looks like Ahsoka did it, and Ahsoka's arrested. And this is a great, great hook, these first two episodes. Sorry, I yawned again. I usually yawn in my show. Um, yeah, it's really awesome as a hook for the arc, and basically Ahsoka is visited by Tarkin, who's like, you're on tape force choking someone, but that's not really the case, and there was no audio working in the cell. So it's very suspicious that she's getting framed, but also like everyone seems to believe she's the killer because it kind of looks like she is at the same time. And Anakin tries to visit her, but he's prevented. But then all of a sudden, there's like a key card left outside her cell, and Ahsoka thinks it's Anakin trying to help her. She breaks herself out of the cell, and there's a bunch of like dead clone troopers everywhere. And then she really looks guilty now because it looks like she killed a bunch of clones. So she goes on her run and on the run, and there's a awesome action scene, and she disappears into the underworld of Coruscant. Still a really great arc as Anakin and Plo Koon try to go find her. She basically encounters Asajj Ventress, who basically agrees to help her in exchange for a pardon, but also she kind of feels sorry for her because, Asajj is on this redemption arc, and she sees similarities in what happened to Ahsoka with what happened to her. Like, everyone's abandoning her. And, yeah, so Ahsoka and Asajj kind of team up, but, Ahsoka gets a call from her friend Barriss, who's been, featured throughout this arc. And Barriss is like, I have a piece of information. Like, the killer may have gone to the bomber may have gone to this abandoned, like, warehouse or factory in the lower levels of Coruscant. So Asajj is like, I know the place. She drops him off there. Then all of a sudden, Asajj is attacked while they separate. So Ahsoka doesn't realize. And then all of a sudden, Ahsoka's attacked by someone wearing Ventress's helmet and lightsabers. And yeah, she gets force pushed, and she's surrounded by the bomb material, the nanodroids, as Anakin and Plo Koon find her at the scene of the crime, like the cache of the bomb. So it looks really, really guilty for Ahsoka. She essentially, everything seems like she did it. She killed the person that, was the only suspect. She looks to have killed some clone troopers, and she's been found at the cache with all this bomb material. And she looks really guilty, and in the next episode, the council basically, in a split decision, expels her and allows the Republic to try her in a military tribunal, because obviously many non-Jedis were killed. So, and this is showing the Republic is growing apart from the Jedi and becoming more independent as the Empire rises. But yeah, there's a absolutely amazing scene where she's put on trial. Looks like she's going to be convicted, but Anakin tracks down Ventress, and he basically interrogates her and finds out that Ahsoka made a call to the Jedi Barriss Offee, her friend, right before she was found at the factory with all the bomb material. So Anakin goes to, and I love this, like, development for Ventress's character, like helping Ahsoka go free. And I also like how Anakin kind of like is very angry and using the dark side to get the information he needs for a good cause. And he goes to interrogate Barriss, finds the red lightsabers that she took, and yeah, basically Barriss attacks Anakin. There's a great duel, and the final scenes are Ahsoka being acquitted, offered to be back in the Jedi Order, but she, in a great moment, says no, because essentially the Jedi lost her trust, and she basically, like, doesn't know who to trust anymore, and she feels like very hurt, so she leaves the Jedi Order. And Anakin and her have this great scene where, it's very emotional, and she says goodbye to him, but there's this awesome scene where Anakin's like, I sometimes feel like I want to leave the Order, and she's like, I know. And to me, that feels like she sensed his relationship with Padme, whether directly or indirectly, she knew. So yeah, that's my favorite arc. It's really an incredible writing. So in the interest of time, we're gonna have to speed up a bit. Season 6, I will say, while this is a very good season, it kind of has like an Ahsoka shaped hole in the writing. It is sad we didn't get to see Ahsoka, and Disney canceled the show, so they couldn't do it properly. However, you have some amazing arcs. You have the Order 66 arc, where we get to learn more about how that came about, how the Sith built the clone army. We also have an amazing arc, or not arc, it's a um, one episode arc called The Lost One, where we learn about Jedi Master Sifo Dyas. So more about the clone troopers being made, but this is a bit towards the end of the season. I'm skipping over a lot, but the Order 66 arc was fantastic, followed by one of my favorite arcs of the entire series, the banking arc, which is severely underrated. It's an amazing story, great character moments, great dialogue writing, and a fantastic action scene at the end. Then we have an arc I really don't like. It's called The Disappeared. It's very bland and just it didn't feel like Star Wars really. It just had no soul. Then the season ends with the basically arc, which I have mixed feelings about. On one hand, it is very good. On the other hand, it kind of felt like a drab end to the series. But it is an interesting arc where like Yoda is hearing Qui-Gon Jinn through the Force, and this challenges the Jedi's conceived notions about, retaining your identity after death. And Yoda has to like figure out the secrets of the Sith in this arc. And there's actually a Jedi that shares my name in this arc. Her name is Nima. Now, I'm not a woman, but in African countries, the name Nima is a female name. But my name is Persian, and it's a boy's name in Persian. But I think it's cool that I don't, see my name in media very much. So it is pretty cool that this Jedi shares my name. Not that it really matters or I really care that much, but it is kind of cool. Alright, so like I said, I kind of rushed through that. So we have a little bit more time. I just want to touch on a few things, particularly the Order 66 arc and the banking arc. The Order 66 arc is much like the Ahsoka arc. It's very tense and very well written. It's about a malfunction in the clone inhibitor chip that causes them to kill a Jedi prematurely. And this creates a huge conspiracy, and the Sith are very nervous, and the Kaminoans are covering their tracks. And it basically ends in a pretty heartbreaking way where the clone that was trying to uncover this sort of conspiracy is killed on Palpatine's orders. And a fantastic, fantastic arc. But the banking arc is a perfect, like, political continuation of what the prequels were trying to portray. Like, Palpatine increasing his power, in this case nationalizing the banking system, and watching the Sith manipulate the politics to like facilitate an invasion of the neutral banking clan world was really masterful. And like I said, a fantastic action scene to close it all up. But on another note, this has some of the best Anakin and Padme scenes and Anakin and Obi-Wan scenes in the entire show. Basically, Anakin kind of goes crazy because the main villain of this is a guy named Clovis, and he basically was Padme's former boyfriend, so he gets like really jealous and goes insane, and the dark side comes out a lot. And then like Obi-Wan basically all but says he knows about Anakin and Padme being together, which, in the movies it's also heavily implied he's aware of this as well. Okay, Season 7. Season 7, we're going to skip the middle arc, the Martez sisters arc, because it's garbage and I didn't bother rewatching it. It's just a filler nonsense arc that Disney put in there. It really has no real point. But here's what I have to say about Season 7. While it is a very good, often great season, I have to be honest when I say it is definitely overrated. There is no question that people were starved for content in 2020, and indeed are starved for content now, and tend to overrate things heavily. This is just true. Um, Nobody really believes content after 2020 is better than before, but you can see like oftentimes things are very overrated and then disappear into the dustbin and nobody really remembers it. Likewise with this, the final arc is very overrated, albeit a great arc nonetheless. Um, and frankly, a lot of the writing in season 7 lacks the sort of, first of all, it relies on some contrivances, like in the Bad Batch arc, the first one. It sort of relies on Captain Rex just knowing his friend Echo is alive, who is like a clone trooper that died in season 4 or something. He just like knows. It's not really realistic that he knows, but he does, and this sets the whole plot in motion. And you got some good action. However, you got a lot of scenes that are kind of forgettable. You got some interesting characters that are a bit cringe at times. My favorite part of this arc is the scene where, again, Obi-Wan basically knows Padme and Anakin are talking secretly, and he's like, I hope you at least told Padme I said hello. And it's kind of like a oh man moment. Except I don't mean oh man, I mean something else. If you know what I mean. And it's like an oh my gosh moment, let's say. And it's a very cool moment. The last episode is very good. The Battle of Anaxis, very cool. Now, moving on, we got about 9 minutes left. Like I said, just skipping the middle arc of this season because it's horrifically bad. You got the Siege of Mandalore arc, which starts off very strong. Ahsoka comes back, and she's like, oh, first of all, I want to say, like, they did the cinematography on this arc to be like a movie. They changed the intro of the show, made it like Lucasfilm Limited. It feels like a movie, like an animated movie. And yeah, the first episode, Ahsoka comes back, and she's like, you know, thrown in with the Mandalorians and Bo-Katan from season 5. You'll remember her. And basically, she meets up with Anakin, and this part, it is good to see, but I don't like how they handled it. They added like this excessive coldness to the character when season 5 made clear that Ahsoka did not hold bitterness towards Anakin. She held bitterness towards the Jedi Council. I mean, Anakin put out his neck and, you know, literally risked life and limb to try to acquit her and support her. So I really don't buy that Ahsoka would be really that cold to Anakin. I really don't. But there's some amazing scenes where she reunites with the 501st, and they paint their helmets to match her coloring on her face, and it's a very sweet moment. Anakin gives her 2 new blue lightsabers. And then the whole sort of linchpin of this arc is Anakin and Obi-Wan are called to the Battle of Coruscant, i.e. the Revenge of the Sith movie starts. And Ahsoka's like, no, we gotta go defeat Maul on Mandalore. Which, once again, when I say this relies on contrivances, like, Maul was defeated by Palpatine at the end of season 5, but they're like, oh no, off screen he escaped prison. It's like, okay, probably should have seen that, but I understand they just want to get on with business. But okay, I guess so. So this scene I also don't like, where Ahsoka's like, no, we need to go support Mandalore and, you know, fight Maul. And then Obi-Wan's like, we have a duty to defend the capital. And then Ahsoka's like, this is why people don't trust the Jedi anymore. And I really don't like this scene because I understand Ahsoka making this argument as a child character, but she's grown up a lot since like the first season of the show. And I don't believe Ahsoka would make that foolish of an argument. Like, Mandalore's population is like 5 million or something, and Coruscant is 2 trillion and is the capital of the Republic. The Jedi clearly have an obligation to first defend the capital and the majority of the people, not split their forces and go fight on Mandalore. And it's very clear that Ahsoka would obviously understand this, but she like throws a fit. But at least Anakin like supports her, gives her some troops, and that's the end of that. We got to go a little bit faster because we're running out of time. The next two episodes, essentially, or no, sorry, the next episode there's a battle on Mandalore. The Republic invades Mandalore. Ahsoka defeats Maul, captures him. It's very good. It's kind of once again a little bit of like, it's cool writing, but also slightly contrived where Maul's whole character now is just like, I had a dream or I had a force vision that Anakin will turn to the dark side. And this creates conflict in Ahsoka, and I fully get why that's good writing, but I also think basing the whole character of Maul around being a dreamer now is a bit like having him in a holding pattern. Uh, Once again, we should have seen him escape prison, not just like, plopped him back in his spot as like ruler of Mandalore. You got a good lightsaber fight. It's certainly not as good as people make it out to be. It's very good, but it is not as good as some of the ones from the original run of the show, like Palpatine versus Maul and Savage. There's also this weird drag effect on the lightsabers that I don't really like, but that's kind of like OCD talking. Next episode, they're on an air. I almost said an aircraft carrier, a Venator Star Destroyer, and Order 66 is declared. Maul was right. The Republic would fall. Very great scenes here. The clones turn on Ahsoka. Ahsoka releases Maul to create some chaos and a distraction. She also, in the medical bay, removes the inhibitor chip from Rex. They band together. The last episode, a great episode that is very overrated. It's rated a 9.9. It's not a 9.9. It's in the 9s, but it is not a 9.9. It's a very powerful end to the season, nonetheless. In the show, essentially the Venator Star Destroyer crashes on this planet, and Ahsoka and Rex bury all her men, which I really loved, and they're still bearing their helmets with her. They painted their helmets to match her face, and it's a very beautiful scene where she buries her troops despite the fact they attacked her, and she leaves her lightsaber that Anakin... I don't know if she left both, but she left at least one in the dirt, I think, to show like she was there or may have died or whatever. I think she meant to say she was there. And she basically leaves, and like I think a few years goes by, and Darth Vader and the stormtroopers reach the planet. Anakin / Darth Vader finds the blue lightsaber, ignites it, and that's the final shot. Darth Vader with a blue lightsaber in the snow. It's very beautiful, powerful end to the show. And yes, I criticized it a bit. No question about that. I think that it's certainly overrated in terms of the IMDb ratings, which are like 9.8, 9.7, 9.9. I think it certainly has some dialogue problems, some contrivances in the writing. However, it's very well directed. The story is very powerful despite some flaws. It's a very good end to the show. And overall, a very good season if you just skip the middle arc of the Martez sisters, which is awful. The worst arc, the worst episodes of the show by far. But The next host is not here, so I'm gonna have to talk for a bit, but that's no issue. As soon as she gets here, we'll end. Essentially, we are finished. I don't know why I said essentially. We are finished with the show, or the review of the show, and it's been very good. I hope you enjoyed it. I understand that many of you may not have seen the show. However, if you are a Star Wars fan, I highly recommend watching it. And if you just like get past, first two seasons, it becomes really great. Although I still love the first two seasons, I'm just acknowledging they're not as good as what comes later. All right, the next host is here. Thank you for watching. That has been Nima Golbabai. I am out.